Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. It is Cork City 0, Celtic 1 at the Parc Equive. But again, see that. I'm going to continue pronouncing that until nobody mentions it. Kev, I think you didn't manage to see the Queen's Park game. One of the frustrations I had with that match is I felt as though it was a little pedestrian. We're a little bit stagnant in terms of our forward play. A lot of the horseshoe play that many fans have complained about. I've actually enjoyed the game tonight more. I appreciate it's only the same scoreline at 1-0, but actually I found their attacking output pretty good. Who's stood out for you in this match, and what have you thought of the game overall?
Yeah, as a game overall, I mean it's a typical friendly match. To be fair, the pace it's been played at is not exactly 100 miles an hour. You can see that our boys are just fresh into pre-season because there's been a few slack passes here and there, and some things that haven't quite come off that normally would. But I think on the whole, it's been a pretty decent first half for a second game in pre-season. But I think, yeah, having missed the game against Queen's Park, I can't comment on that, but I have been quite impressed by kind of, let's say, in general, ball retention of the team and keeping the possession. Playing against a side that's played 23 games this season, they're going to be fitter than us, but we've kept the ball fairly well. We've always kind of played with attacking intent, which has been nice to see. And in terms of players that have impressed and stood out for me, I would go young Summers. I think he's looked really good when he's got the ball. I think maybe one thing that's lacking from his game could be a bit of pace. Maybe I've noticed that, but his passing's been excellent. He's got the vision to spot the through balls. Johnny Kenny's been on the end of a couple of them and unlucky not to maybe hit the target or, force keeping it to making a few more saves. So Summers impressed, and Inamura at left back. I think he's had a pretty good first half. Yeah, I've been sitting watching him, and I was unsure as to whether we would continue playing the inverted fullback this season because that was very much a Greg Taylor thing. And with him being away, I just wondered if there's and Tierney coming in, if that's maybe a change to us going back to more traditional up and down the line fullbacks on both sides. But Inamura's come in, the intent there is that he's done a bit of inverted stuff. He's looked fairly comfortable in the ball. I'm going to steal this from someone from the Acsom chat, and it might actually have been yourself. He's definitely looked the best out of the four defenders that we've had in the park. He's looked composed.
Wasn't he? Was Paul John?
Pretty good. Was it Paul John? Oh, well, yeah, I wish I'd never said it now. Don't want to give him the credit for it. But yeah, I think he's looked pretty good. Like I say, composed on the ball. His positional sense has been fine. He's cut out a few passes, won a header as well. And was inches away from setting up Johnny Kenny for a goal. That cross that he's put in midway through the half, and he's just kind of whipped it around his man. One touch to control. Second one gets it in there. I think he's been pretty impressive. I'm not going to judge a player's Celtic career on the basis of 45 minutes of a pre-season friendly match at the beginning of July, but he's impressed. And again, I'm sorry, maybe this is Paul John again, who I'm going to steal this one from. Someone made a comment in the famous group that you could see within 15 minutes that Quan was never going to make it as a Celtic player.
It was Paul John.
I thought it might have been. I'm cursing myself internally for giving him the praise when he's not even here.
I was going to say, when he's not here, still gets all the credit.
I know, still getting it. I know. But you could tell with him that he was never, or highly unlikely to make it as a Celtic player. You don't get that vibe from Inamura. He's looking confident. He's looking composed. Like, he's deserving to be in the team at the moment. So he's got to build on that as the pre-season goes on. And if he can do that when other players step up as well, then maybe we've got ourselves a bargain on our hands.
It could be. I think you're right. I mean, I think that sometimes there is an element of the eye test. And look, we have to keep this in context, right? It's a pre-season game. It's 45 minutes. Not sure if he's likely to come out for the second half. Certainly in the previous game, it was wholesale changes at half-time. But there was a couple of things that stood out for me with Inamura in particular. And I agree with your points on Summers, by the way. I'll come to him as well. But with Inamura, I really liked the fact that he didn't look phased He looked very, very comfortable. Now, if this is a player that Brendan said is coming in, will be B team or loan type level, well, for me, he's easily at that level, if not actually better, based on that evidence. He looked very, very smooth on the ball. A couple of, slack passes, slack pass and a slack shot. I mean, look, that was, initially when I saw that, even I on the group chat was like, oh, really? That's, but he actually grew into the game, I felt. And I thought the way he, to a degree, had sort of freedom on the left side of the park a little bit in space to move, but he used the movement in the space well. And actually, I liked the fact he was very forward thinking. A lot of the passes were going, to trying to whip those round to get Johnny Kenny on the end of it. I thought he was linking up well with Summers. He was always looking to make a forward going pass. Listen, the acid test will be when we come up against a team that lobs a few crosses down to that left hand side and see if he can manage to win the aerial battles. But actually, on 2 occasions there, I thought he looked good in the air. When you look at me, he looks quite slight as a player compared to some of the other players, but he actually looks as though he's quite athletic. So it could be it'll be an interesting one to watch. So look, we won't make any judgments on Inamura at the moment. What we would say is, I think a lot of the fears we may have had around the signing the type of player, they didn't really come to fruition tonight, which is good. So hopefully he gets more minutes, if not today, then in the game going forward. You mentioned Ben Summers. I mean, obviously a player that's been out on loan, has had some first-team experience at his loan club. He looked up for it tonight. I thought he's been involved in everything that was good. Some good link-up with Jamesy Forrest, I thought. He's trying to bring Kenny into the game. Seems to have been involved in most of our productive attacking play. Is that the benefit, Kevin, of getting some of these young guys out to a competitive club for a loan move? Is he the embodiment of that sort of evidence?
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah, and the league that he's gone to as well, which was the second league in Austria. I think it's when you say it's the second league, it's probably not going to make many people stand up and take notice of it. But that league is actually a fairly decent kind of development league, especially in this part of the world. Because I think you've got, oh gosh, I'm going to blank in some of the team names. You've got Sturm Graz is in there, who've got a B team which is fairly strong. You've got Leifering, which is in there, which is kind of the B team to RB Salzburg. So there's a few teams in there that are fairly strong, and it's a platform league to go on to the top league, to your parent team in the top league, or to go out to other teams in this part of Europe that are playing in bigger leagues. So I think it's a pretty good development league. Both him and Matthew Anderson went out and had pretty solid seasons out there. So I think having that benefit of maybe 20, 30 games competitive at that level under his belt coming back can only benefit him. That's a bigger benefit to him than playing the same number of games in the Lowland League in Scotland. Right? He'll have improved because of that. And I think he always looked a player who was forward thinking and had that pass about him, but he's done it in a man's league now. And now he's coming back and he's going to try and stake a claim to, at worst, probably be a squad player this season, maybe have to go out on loan again. But 21 years of age, he should be knocking on the door to get in that first team to be in the plans.
Well, yeah, a lot of people compare his age with that of Arne Engels, who I think is 22, maybe 23 now, and is obviously established at a higher level than Ben Summers. But actually, and I want to bring this comment up because I think it's quite important, and it's something I want to discuss. So Brad Laddie comes and says, I've not said a bad word about Engels, but it's games like this he should be showing his quality and running the game. It's starting to argue with myself that it'll come good, but I have major doubts. Again, want to keep this in context. That is just a friendly at the moment, so we're not necessarily going to see these players at their absolute best. But Kevin, when we look at the 4 outfield established players, really, McCowan, Engels, Callum McGregor, and indeed Johnny Kenny, who I know is very much on the fringes. We could say Sinisalo as well, but he's not had a huge amount to do. Are you expecting to see a wee bit more? Now, I appreciate McCowan scored tonight, but he was also getting a bit of criticism for his, some of his earlier touches and not really, being able to contribute too much to the game. Great goal, by the way. Have to say that. But should we get more out of these players like Engels and Kalmack? Should they be stepping up to lead by example, really? Or is that harsh?
Not in this game. Not in this game. Not for me. In the sense, like, it's too early in the pre-season to be putting that level of pressure, I think, on some of the first team players to be, like stepping up and bossing the game and whatnot. They're all at that very early stage of coming back from a summer. They're just regaining fitness. They're kind of just want to ease themselves back into playing football again, I think. So I think for us looking to be having that opinion where these guys should be grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck and pulling us to a big victory is probably a bit harsh on them. But that said, there's been a lot of maybe simple mistakes that some of the players have made. I think defensively, Trusty has looked a bit shaky.
Yeah, a
Obviously,
couple of lists.
we're a game and a half into pre-season, but some of the errors he was making in league games last season, he's made again in this game. He looks like he's playing with somebody who's only half switched on at times, which is a concern. But it is only pre-season. Hopefully, we can get that out of his system early. The midfielders, I think it's just. I mean, it is probably just a bit too early for what we want to see from them. But there's been slack passes. I don't think McCowan had a great first half. Scored the goal, which was brilliant, great finish. If it was a league game, we'd all be sitting here going, he didn't have a great first half, but he scored the goal. He's the reason why we're ahead. So you'll give him credit for that. But I think at the moment you're just looking to get fitness in the players, and performance is almost secondary at this stage. You just don't want anyone to have an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I'm seeing a couple of comments coming in here to actually defend that position as well. Misty Indigo comes in to say Engels is a level above anyone in the pitch tonight by any of the established Celtic team. If he's strolling it and working his way into pre-season, that's not to be worried about. I kind of agree with that to an extent. I also think Tony C comes in with a good point. Engels is only 21. He's the man of the match performances in Champions League. He will come good on a more consistent basis. Yeah, I mean, Tony, we have given him lots of praise on Acsom. He's definitely got his defenders, got his detractors as well, but I think you're right. I think it's. I would find it harsh to judge players too much on a pre-season friendly. Says the guy who gave most of the youngsters a hard time for their performance in the Queen's Park game. But tonight I'm quite impressed with what I've seen. In terms of some of the younger players, the kind of B team players that have come through, was there anyone else that stood out? I noticed that Dane Murray and Donovan had quite a hard time in that game. Probably a tougher time than Trusty and Inamura, really, given the nature of the Cork attack. But they kind of came through it okay. A couple of iffy moments, but otherwise they weren't too bad. What have you made of some of those players?
Yeah, I think they did all right in the first half. There was a moment in the first half where I can't remember, it's maybe midway through. There's a long ball over the top and Murray just doesn't deal with it. And is it Dykesdale? It's the guy who's kind of running through and he's clean through until he trods on the ball and gives it up. That's maybe something that I think Murray might have in his game from a few times that I've seen him. There's maybe switch off and concentration every now and again. Other than that, I think he's done all right though. Colby Donovan, I think he's tried really hard, which I know sounds quite patronising to say that. It's almost like
don't say bless him.
Young
Don't
last
say
season.
bless him.
No, he's not quite that level. But I think he has tried, and you can see whenever he's misplaced a pass, he's been frustrated with himself. So he knows that he's done it, which I think is at least a good thing to see. So he'll be trying to self-correct those mistakes as it goes on. And again, I don't think he's really made a big mistake. Just a few slack passes here and there. He was no worse than the other three that he was playing alongside at the back, with Inamura being, I think, actually just that step ahead of them at the moment.
Yep, absolutely. I can see the crowd is gathering again at the Parc Cuivre, and the players are getting ready to come back out.
I'm loving seeing that name now, aren't you?
I'm just going to do it until somebody says you got it perfect. So that's all I want. I'm going to flow now. I'm probably just continuing to butcher it. So I do apologise if I am getting that wrong. But I will in future. I will work harder to get the pronunciations right. You should have seen my face when it came up, and that was a stadium they were playing at. I thought I've got to go on and host at that stadium. That's not going to work. So anyway, a couple of other comments coming in here. I'm going to bring in Pete. Inamura reminds me of, oh God, do I have to pronounce that as well? Darius Wojcik. He was Czech. I see. I'm too far away with that. Not all defenders have to be good in the air. CCV, Tierney, Johnson, a third centre half. Let Inamura bring the ball out of defence. Yeah, I actually think he looks all right in the air so far from what I've seen. I think the acid test, as we said, Pete, will be when he's under a bit more time pressure with the ball. I've liked his use of the ball tonight. When he gets to the SPL, if he gets an opportunity, he'll be closed down a lot faster. So it'll be interesting to see how he handles that. And then, as you say, if the ball comes over from that left-hand side, and that was where we used to criticise Greg Taylor, to see how he stands up to one of these kind of roughhouse forwards. So it will be interesting to see what happens. And some of the P. McLaughlin came down to say Inamura versus Sporting Lisbon will be a better test. Well, fingers crossed that he gets the opportunity. They are about to kick off at the park. I'm not going to say it again. Kev, any thoughts for the second half? What are you expecting to see? I'm not sure what changes has taken place yet, so apologies I can't bring you the refresh team.
I'm still going from a pre-match prediction of 12 substitutions, so we'll see how that goes.
All right.
And then I think we'll just see more of the same. I think there will be a raft of changes, but I think we'll see it being kind of similar pattern of play. We'll have lots of possession. We'll try and just impose our game on Cork, and hopefully we'll see a few more Celtic goals.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure if Osmond's playing. Hopefully he is. We'll get a chance to see him. They have kicked off now, so they have kicked off now, so we'll leave it there. Thanks again to Kevin McCluskey for joining for half-time. We'll be back at full-time, where hopefully we'll have a few more incidents or events to talk about. Really appreciate everyone joining us. Go and enjoy the second half, and we will see you at full-time. This has been a Celtic State of Mind. Thank you.
Nice one. Cheers, Chris.